Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to tackle task 3A, which is using the installation assistant to set up our certificates, our licenses, and network settings like DNS, NTP, and so forth on our Cisco meeting server. Okay, so let's get straight to it. You can download the installation assistant from Cisco's website, and when you've got it all downloaded, you want to navigate to that folder. You should have a file called server.exe. And we'll open that up here, and that'll open up the browser to the installation assistant. Now remember, you only want to use the installation assistant for very basic deployment of a single combined Cisco meeting server. Okay, so in this case, this is what we want to do, so we'll just go ahead and click on Configure Server here. We're going to put in some basic server information, such as the IP address, in this case 198.1.1.42. And we'll need to add the username and password that we created earlier to log in. And then it also wants us to create this encryption passphrase. So I'm just going to use the same password for that, just to make it simple. And now we can come over here and click Connect. And here it's just testing whether it has connectivity to the server. Okay, so remember, when we upgraded this in the last video, we only upgraded to 2.9, not 3.0. And in version 2.9 or earlier, we have the choice of using WebBridge 2 or WebBridge 3. But when you go to CMS version 3 or later, you don't have that choice. You must use WebBridge 3. So had we upgraded to CMS version 3, we wouldn't even see this option. Okay? Yeah, either way, we're going to go ahead with WebBridge 3, so we'll apply that. And now here is the full list of items we need to configure. It's really just a checklist, and the installation assistant is going to walk us through all of it. So the first thing on our list is certificates. And by the way, this is the same process that you would go through if, for example, you were doing it the so-called hard way that we talked about previously. The main difference being that we now have this assistant guiding us through this process. So to set up our certificates, the first thing we want to do is make sure that CA signed is selected here under certificate type. And in this case, we're not using self-signed. We could if we wanted to, but we're not going to in this case. And for certificate upload option, we want to choose new certificate via CSR. Then we're just going to come down here and click this button to generate our CSR. Okay, so next, let's enter a fully qualified domain name, FQDN, and for my environment, that's going to be cms1.dcloud.cisco.com. And by the way, DNS is already set up for this server, so in a normal production environment, you definitely want to have that as well. You'll need to have that as well. And for SIP domain here, this is what clients or other endpoints would use, for example, if they were dialing into Cisco meeting server. So we're going to use cms.dcloud.cisco.com. Then we just want to come down here a bit and click Generate. And then when we scroll a bit further down this page, we can see that it generated the CSR for us. Okay, perfect. So now we want to download our CSR, and we'll save that file to the desktop. And then from our desktop, we want to open up CMS certs and licenses. And so here is the CSR that we just created and downloaded. So we're going to right-click this and open with Notepad. Okay, so we need to copy all of the contents of this file. We need to make sure that when you're doing this, you need to make sure you're copying every single character in the file. Okay, now I'm just going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to go to my certificate server. Now here, I'm just using the Microsoft certificate server. Okay, great. It automatically logged me in. And what we're going to do first is request a certificate. And then we're going to choose Advanced Certificate Request. And then right here in this box where it says Base64 Encoded, that's where we're going to paste everything that we copied from that CSR, that certificate signing request. Okay? And then here under Certificate Template, we want to choose Client Server, and we're going to leave additional attributes blank and then Submit. And that creates the certificate for us. It signs that CSR. Okay, now we need to download it. And notice that we have two different types of encodings to choose from. So just make sure that you choose base64 encoded, and we'll click Download Certificate, and of course save the file. Okay, now typically under normal circumstances, what you'd want to do is click Home here, and then you'd want to click, download a CA certificate, etc., etc. And then again, you choose base64, and then you download the CA certificate. Now, the purpose of this certificate, this points to the certificate authority, the authority that actually signs the certificate, okay? Now, we don't actually need to download it here because it's already been done for us because we're using this assistant. But if we go back to that folder where we downloaded the certificates, here's the signed certificate here, cert.new.cer, C-E-R, and then ca-bundler.cer. This is the root CA, the downloaded CA certificate that I just mentioned. Okay, so these are the two certificates that you'll need from the certificate server. Now, one more little housekeeping item that we need to take care of here is this CSR file here. Now, this name here was automatically generated, but when we created this CSR, we created a key as well, and they share the same name. And the certificate that I just signed needs to have the same name. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that name, and then paste that name in here so that they match. Okay, but notice that one is the CSR and the other is the CER. Okay, now we're ready to go back to our installation assistant, and we're going to upload these files. So notice that it's asking for both the certificate and the CA certificate chain. Okay, so we're going to go to CMS certs and license, and this is the certificate that we just got signed. So we're going to open that up, and then we'll select the CA bundle. We'll open that one up. Now, if you were to get these mixed up, if you put them in reverse order, say, you'll just get an error message. So it's really not that big a deal. And if that happens, then you can just switch them back around again and then click Upload again. But we should be fine here. So we'll go ahead and click Upload here. Okay, and so if you get this confirmation message here, that means you did it right, you're good to go, and you're ready to move on to the next step, which is licensing. Okay, so we'll close that out, click License, and again, we'll just click Select License File. And I've already got it downloaded here, so I'll just select that, open that up, and you can even preview your license by clicking here, and it'll show you what you've got. Here we've got licenses for call bridge, web bridge, customizations, turn, recording, personal, and shared. Now, the personal and shared are the actual call licenses. So call bridge, that just enables the call bridge, and web bridge just enables the web bridge. But your personal and shared licenses are what gives you the ability to create spaces and then call into them. So it tells you, how many personal spaces and how many shared spaces that you're allowed to have. Okay, so all you need to do here is upload your license, and then after that finishes uploading, you're going to get this confirmation message, and that's pretty much it. We can go on to the next item, which is network. Now, we've already set up our network settings, of course, but there may still be other settings that you're going to need to configure, for example, a fully qualified domain name. So here, for my example, that's going to be cms1.dcloud.cisco.com. And remember to only do this if you have DNS set up, okay? And we haven't set up an Ntp server yet, so let's go ahead and do that. That should be 198.18.133.1. And here, this is where we could add additional servers if we wanted to, if we needed to, but we can skip that for now. This is just a demonstration. And let's go ahead and set up our time zone. I'm going to set this to Eastern. And then our DNS server address is 198.18.133.1. And of course, you can add additional servers if you want to, but we don't really need to for this demo. Okay, now the web admin port is already pre-configured to use port 445. It's not 443 because we're going to use that for WebBridge, which we're going to set up here in just a second. And, more people are going to use the web bridge than the web admin interface. So the web admin interface is really only going to be used by administrators. So people don't really need to know the port to access the web admin, but people do need to know the port to use the web bridge. And so the web bridge will use 443, and the web admin is going to use 445. Now, if you're not going to use the web bridge, then by all means you could use port 443 here if you wanted to. But if you are planning on using both, which most people are, then you should make sure that this is set to 445, and that's the default anyway. So just make sure it's set to that 445. And so we're going to save those settings. And your settings were not saved. Maybe I missed something. Take a look up here. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's try to save that again. Great, we get the confirmation, and so we're going to go ahead and close that out. And we'll move on to call bridge. Now, for call bridge, we need to put in our SIP domain. This is the URL that people are going to dial in order to access one of the spaces. And this is just going to be cms.dcloud.cisco.com. And then we'll put in our SIP proxy. So here, SIP proxy, we need to know, when calls leave the Cisco meeting server, where are they going to? Typically, this is going to be your call control server. So this could be the Expressway core, or it could be the CUCM. In our case, this is going to be the CUCM, so we're going to go ahead and put in cucm1.dcloud.cisco.com. And then encryption, we're just going to leave that as default. And also the media encryption for SIP calls, we'll leave that as default as well. And active call control, we'll leave that as enabled. And so that's everything that we need to configure here. So we'll just go ahead and click Save. We get our confirmation, and now we can move on to WebBridge. Now notice that everything that we've done so far has a check mark, and so we know what's been done. Now if you don't want to enable the WebBridge, then of course you can just move on to the next item. But of course, in our case, for demonstration purposes, we do want to do it, and we're going to do WebBridge 3. So we're going to check this box here to enable it, and then this listening port here, call bridge to WebBridge C2W. We're just going to leave that as the default and then click Save. And then we get our confirmation here, and that's all there is to that. You saw how easy that was. This method is infinitely easier than doing it the long way, without the installation assistant. That is much more complex, much more convoluted, but as you just saw, configuring our web bridge was very easy in this case. Okay, that's going to do it for Task 3A, but we've still got a lot to cover in Task 3B. We're still not finished with the installation assistant. So stick around for that one. That's coming up next. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.